So, hey there, we are on the Conscious Creator podcast today. I'm Caroline, and today I'm talking with Scott Glazier a bit about his art. I have gotten the honor and pleasure of meeting him through work. He is an incredible painter, and he shares his talents through teaching some of the kids that I work with. And he also teaches meditation. So, Scott, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. It's an honor and a privilege.
Yeah, I definitely, you were the first person I thought of this month to be on the podcast because your story is so incredible. And every time I've gotten to hear you speak, I learn a little bit more about you. And it's always something that is so impactful. Like, you have such an incredible story, and your talent is like so unique and cool. Even when like we're in class, so Scott is the spiritual art teacher, the place where I work, and we always start class with a little meditation, and sometimes it's just a minute long. But you have this incredible ability to put me right into like stillness, feeling center in 1 minute. Like, yeah.
That's what I love to do.
Yeah, you have a great special talent with that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you about some of your art. Let's just start off with the painting that you did of Patron.
Yes, Patron. Patron is a mind-sniffing dog, and he is with the Ukrainian military, and he's a true hero. He has so far sniffed out from the beginning of the war until now. He has helped to find, I think, 236
I think that's
explosive devices. Yeah. So he's a true hero. Patron. He's just a little Russell Terrier.
So
And
cute.
I was inspired to paint him.
Yeah. When you sent me a bunch of pieces of your art for us to talk about, that was so cute. I love little Jack Russell Terriers and stuff. And the whole reason behind like Conscious Creator podcast is to show the world that art is powerful. It changes people. It changes the world. And I like to bring people on to this platform to speak because there are people that really utilize that. And I think it's such a cute art piece, speaks to so many with like, oh, it's an adorable little Jack Russell Terrier, but like, oh my gosh, like how many lives potentially this little dog is saved. And like you get to share this message through your art form.
Yes. Yes. I was just very inspired by the story as soon as I saw it, and with so much bad news in the world, it's nice to see some good news.
Yeah. So I'm going to definitely, for the YouTube version of this podcast, I'm going to be putting that picture up for everyone to see it. So if you're listening on some other platform, I definitely encourage you to check it out because Scott is a visual artist and it is awesome. How would you describe your style?
I would say that my style is pretty fluid. Sometimes I'll do a cat or a dog, but sometimes I'll paint flowers or, a nice little landscape. Once in a while, I could paint a mouse, sort of saying something. I just like to paint whatever arises.
Yeah.
Just kind of a reflection of nature. I like to paint faces. I like to paint people, but no particular style.
Yeah, I had a hard time pinning you down with like being like, oh, he's, there's a little bit of pop art in there. There's some abstract. There's realistic paintings. It's very across the board. I especially love the very collage style of painting you have, where it's just a meld of so many different colors going on. You have a really unique way of doing a lot and implying a lot with very little. So you'll use color and sometimes rough brush strokes to create depth. And I love it's so cool. And like one of our like 1 hour art classes with the kids, sometimes you'll create like a piece where I'm like, oh my gosh, how did you do that in an hour? Because there's so much simplicity but so much depth at the same time.
It's really a matter of, for me, it's really just a matter of adapting to whatever I have in front of me and whatever comes out.
Yeah. Would you say that's a intentional approach?
I would say that it's more of a natural approach. Intention comes from maybe a commission piece to do the portrait of a family or a dog or a house or a cat, but generally just whatever comes out naturally.
Yeah, it's so interesting, like how our art reflects us as like a person, and like our psychology, and like our the way that we create our art is such a reflection of ourselves. And I would say that so far my experience of like being around you, that's it's like you say a lot in without much effort, or not much, without saying much. You say a lot.
Sometimes less is more, Same with artwork.
Yeah.
I would say that the intention is to just be childlike, and whatever comes out comes out.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever you've like I said, whenever you've spoken and shared a little bit of your story, it'll be like a couple seconds, and I'll be like, whoa, that is like crazy insightful, and also what a cool experience. I think I'd like to backtrack a little bit and kind of like get to know your background a little bit. So when did you first start making art?
I first started making art probably around 9 or 10, just like simple little drawings, little cartoons, stuff like that. And then, around 9th, 10th grade, I stopped because I got pretty heavy into drugs and alcohol, and that lasted for about 12 years. So I really just picked it up about 2 years ago. Well, maybe 2.5, 3 years ago almost now. And really, I just got back to drawing again and making little cartoons and just easy little sketches, and then I started painting again. And just naturally has evolved.
So once you started using, did you completely stray away from art? Did it ever kind of like creep back in, or was there any temptation to go back?
There wasn't. I didn't feel much of a calling. Definitely lost that. I lost other passions and interests. Drugs and alcohol became the primary focus. And so I'm grateful that now I have a passion again, which artwork is one of my passions. It's not the only one, but it's one of them. I love helping people, and I just, I love making art.
Yeah.
It's become kind of a devotion. But yes, I definitely was not as interested in making artwork.
So kind of what I hear you saying is like a lot of your approach as an artist is to be childlike. And that sounds like your art was something that you first kind of fell in love with as a child. And so there's this return going back now that you're embracing things that you loved as a child.
Yeah. Yep. It's very much just kind of returning to that childlike state and just being open to receive, open to receive love, open to receive nature as it is, open to receive this moment exactly as it is, and whatever comes from that comes from that.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So when you rediscovered art, how did that come about, and about when was that for you?
I would say that I've rediscovered art every day. That's a continuous thing. But again, probably about 3 years ago. And so definitely find new ways to paint, new ways to express. And a good friend of mine, Bob, here in Nashville, he's from New York originally, he said to me once, Scott, you can never paint outside of your emotions. And I find that...
I've heard you say that before. I've spent a lot of time thinking back on that.
Mm-hmm. It's like a ponderable,
Yeah, I still haven't unpacked that.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's very much a daily devotion if I can find time to paint, which I try to every morning. Something
I've really been working with very intensely the last week is that phrase, feelings aren't facts. And that's really been helping me a lot. And I find that my headspace has improved a lot. My experience of every day has improved a lot. And at the same time, this other thing exists where you can't paint outside your feelings. So
it's interesting because I question that. There have been times when I painted and I might have been sad or maybe a little bit agitated, but I would still, if I have like a commission piece, if I'm sad, I can still do the commission piece, but I just do the best I can with it. And like you said, any emotions that arise, to just notice them and then back to whatever I'm working on.
Right. Yeah, I feel it's very hard for me personally to not be authentic to my emotions. My emotions are always like right where you can see them. I'm not good at lying, But I think that perhaps like both those statements are true at the same time of like perhaps the act of painting, is helpful for validating any feeling that you have and not getting lost in the reasoning or the blame for whyever that reason might be cropping up. It doesn't necessarily solve the why, but it helps to diffuse the maybe the urgency of whatever's going on and transmute that emotion.
Yeah, definitely. And I paint sometimes on the dark side too. Definitely have some pretty dark paintings.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that because my art's always about like, it's so interesting because it's all supposed to be about diving into the darkness and stuff, but it's ironic how it will present in a very light way sometimes and like in an ironic way. But how does that like manifest for you? What does that look like?
Looks like for me is that sometimes I'll paint the picture of a face expressing sorrow or sadness or maybe even some sort of fear, and that could be any of those emotions coming from inside of me or from something that I experienced. Oftentimes I'll draw and sketch little faces of people that might not even look like they're happy, and I work with a lot of people and I witness a lot of suffering, with many different people, and so sometimes that comes out in my artwork. I don't share or sell all of those. I just make it for me. It's part of the therapeutic creating process. It's very therapeutic for me, definitely.
It was so strange. Like the first day I met you, I think, was in your art class, and it was so weird how I felt like we painted like the same drawing in our own styles and stuff. We both drew like women with one side of the face light and one side of the face like in shadow. I was like, I didn't realize it till later, but I was like, that is so strange. Like there's tapping into some sort of like collective unconscious like at the same time. But I do remember a couple photos like for anyone like that's just tuning in for this episode, I've discussed it in past episodes that I work at a rehab facility for teenage boys, and that's how I know Scott. He also works there. I remember, I think this has happened a couple times, but you've made paintings like that, similar to what you're describing, with a lot of depth, lots of wide range of colors that seem like maybe at first glance, like they wouldn't be harmonious together, but you use them as highlights and shadows and contrast in ways where it all blends and goes together perfectly. And I remember you giving, I think, multiple canvases there. You've got this beautiful piece of art, and you tell one of the boys, "Here, you finish it," and it's so cool to see then what they do with what you've already created. And one of those, I do remember, one of the boys kept on going with the darkness, on they keep going with the shadows and stuff. And just interesting how symbolic translation with what we're doing,
Yeah, I just love for the kids to have a space to feel safe, to be able to express themselves. And sometimes a little bit of darkness comes out, sometimes some humor. And it's just beautiful to experience that. It really is.
Yeah, I mean,
I love it.
It's been so cool to see so many guys in the time that I've worked there. Their life is art now. All they do in their free time, because I know that you get to spend the meditation classes with them and stuff. I mean, sometimes what I do is glorified babysitting, and it's you get to see everything that they do, and what you do really impacts them. It's really has planted a seed of helping them to, in every moment, diffuse anxiety, to express themselves, find things that they're interested in, and then paint it, draw it. It's really, impacted these young guys.
Yep. It's incredible. It's incredible to see what you do and the impact that you have on them too.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I love it.
They're my boys.
And
how would you do you ever look at them and see a little bit of yourself, a little bit of your own story?
Mm-hmm. Very much so. In most of them.
Yeah.
I was just like them at their age.
Yeah, sometimes in there's another class we do that's about an hour-long meditation class. And I love some of the things that you've said where they'll be especially fidgety, making jokes, kind of trying to distract each other, and you just kind of hold space for them, and that's part of the meditation.
That's part of the practice.
Yeah, for them,
yeah.
and for us, you know, it's not necessarily our job in those moments to be like, "Hey, be quiet. I can't meditate because you're doing that."
Yeah.
Finding a peace amongst the chaos.
Yep, it's a good practice. It's just a reminder that the practice continues on the mat or in the chair and out of the chair.
And I remember you saying there at one point where I was the same when at your age, I get it.
Yep, definitely.
I remember you also offering up your chair. There's a fixed number of chairs in the room. Another boy entered. There were no chairs left. So you're I'll just sit on the floor. Here you go. And how your role as a meditation teacher there, what would you say, how is that part of your practice?
For me, I would say that for me, the practice continues. I have a personal practice, which is often right here or sometimes in that seat. And I'll do a half an hour, maybe an hour, sometimes 15 minutes, whatever's natural. And then when I go there, the practice continues. When I open the eyes, the practice continues. When I close the eyes, the practice continues. And with the kids there in the group, a safe space for them to experience a deeper level of peace, and even just for a few moments, if they're able to watch their thoughts and notice their thoughts, and either return to the breath or return to the mantra, whatever the case is. That's why I like to do a little bit of guided mindfulness, and then a little bit of mantra practice. Mm. And so it's nice to see that it definitely makes a difference while they're there.
So there's two that I've definitely heard you do on multiple occasions. Can you kind of elaborate for our audience what the nature of those practices are? How would you describe the first one we usually start with?
Yeah, we usually start with a guided mindfulness practice, and I'll walk them through mindfulness of the body, of the mind, of emotions. And, it changes a little bit each time. And then also, even from the beginning, having them rest in loving awareness. And so I use words that have them rest in loving awareness, and then notice the body, notice the breath, also notice the mind, the sounds, just as they are. And the mind wanders, and then returning back to awareness and noticing whatever arises.
So what is loving awareness?
That's a good question. It's one of those things that is sort of beyond words, like one of those art pieces I named, and I don't name a lot of my art pieces, but one of those I named The Peace That Passes Understanding. And it's a kind of peace that is beyond understanding. And so loving awareness is another word for God or the universe. Loving awareness is the aspect of you that is always able to witness non-judgmentally, is always able to see things as they are. And then the mind comes in and says, oh, that's a cat, or that's a dog, or I like this, I don't like that, And that's okay. That's part of the practice too. But you can always return to awareness itself. It's always available. It's easy to forget that, but it is always available. And when you can rest in loving awareness and realize that I am loving awareness, and you are loving awareness, and you are loving awareness, that we're not separate, that we're one.
Yeah, I love how you, again, have a way of saying a lot in very few words. I think each person's relationship and definition of God is highly personal, and we try to explain it in so many different words, and we all seem to disagree. And it's in your saying, like, finding loving awareness and the words that you choose to say, it does invite the possibility for these young people that are, not even sure what is God, what is everything, figuring so much out, the possibility to discover that for themselves.
Yes. I love that you said the word possibility. There's a possibility for many things, but a possibility to be open. That just for a moment to have an open mind and an open heart to receive love and to give love, just like you would to your cat, or dog, or a family member, or a close friend. Just like that.
That's so great. Well, we are going to take a short little break. I'm going to splice in a couple more shots of Scott's different artwork so you can see the wide range of different styles that he does. And then we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
So we are back, and during our little break, we just did a meditation that Scott led, and oh my gosh. It's like, I don't know how much time passed, if it really was. I don't know how much time passed. But you have like an incredible presence.
Yeah, we did a quick minute. It was a good quick minute, though.
Yeah, I can do 10, 15 minutes, sometimes longer, and it doesn't feel as centered. There really is something to like meditating in a group, especially when it's like a group that is practiced. Like, it's a total vibe.
Yep. There's a stronger sense of that collective energy and that shared energy. It's powerful stuff.
Yeah. We also got to talking about a whole bunch of things. It was great. I think we were going to dive in a little bit into my favorite piece, which was named Queen of Hearts. I know you've said that you don't often name pieces, and you said this was named by someone else?
This was named by a lady who purchased the piece. I said, you can name the piece if you'd like. And she said, Queen of Hearts. But when I made the piece, I was outside. It was in the winter time during the snow in Nashville. We had maybe had 2-3 inches of snow. I was outside, and I felt a little bit of a dark energy, but it was more the divine feminine. There was a strong sense of feminine energy, and when I say that, I mean it was a nurturing sort of energy, but also the potential to be destructive. And it was just a powerful sort of energy, and I felt it, and that's what came out.
So you're just kind of like absorbing that feeling from your surroundings. It's just like a energy that you kind of came upon.
It just showed up. It just showed up. It just kind of poured out of me, really. It was fun. It was a really fun piece.
Yeah, I love this piece because it's all paint, right?
Yep, that was all acrylic, actually.
It has such a collage-like nature to it with the brush strokes. It seems like a lot of shorter brush strokes and really diverse use of color. I love the yellow. There's like such a glow to it, but it's interesting how you say there's darkness to it at the same time.
Yep, there was a little bit of the shadow energy, which could have been at the time some sort of dark energy that I felt within, and that combined with with a loving and nurturing sort of feminine energy, it just came out. And I think that the background of the piece, I like the background, and I think the person who has it now enjoys the background, just because it's it's just pretty simple, but it's abstract, but it has texture.
Very texture.
Yeah, and so that piece, it probably took me a few hours or so, but it kind of has the subject and the background. And even with meditation, try noticing the subject and the background, and see what happens. It's a fun little experiment.
Yeah, that's a trip. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. That's so cool.
Even like right now, looking at me, looking at Caroline, or even looking at me right now, you see the face, you see the pink microphone, the hand movement, the chair, the wall behind the chair, whatever's on the wall. You can see both, just as it is, and it's just interesting to see the subject in the background. And I think that piece offers a glimpse into a pretty powerful subject and the eyes of that subject and the background.
Definitely the eyes. The eyes are striking, very bold. And I do feel like the subject is very integrated into its background and everything. It's beautiful. It's profound.
And you know, the other thing with that piece that I just thought of is it's almost as if the woman in the image is coming forth. You know, she's almost like coming out of the background.
Yeah.
Sort of revealing herself. And I think that speaks a lot to artwork in revealing itself and allowing, and just creativity in general. I think that it allows things to come forth, emotions to come forth, the darkness to come forth, the light to come forth. Sometimes a mixture of both, and I think that piece is maybe it's a mixture of both.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't have shadows without some sort of light source.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's so true.
Yeah, they come together. Yeah, I really, like, all of my work is about shadow work and stuff, and it's so cool to hear you talk about that a little bit. In this particular art piece, the shadow content that was coming forth, do you feel like it was something that you intuited from a moment from your surroundings? Or was it something from within that was surfacing?
I think it was definitely something more from within. Yeah, I'm sure that the surroundings had something to do with it. I remember that I was somewhat in the sunlight, but also somewhat in the shade. So I was in both. I think maybe that played a little bit of role.
Had to steal the show.
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce our friend?
Yeah, I could. Here, send
That's a cutie.
It's my baby.
It's the baby,
It's
yes.
Ascenda.
Ascenda, yeah. Good little friend. It's like a little camera shy.
Yeah, he's a good boy, though. He's a good kitty.
Playing with the cable. Aw, cutie. So I wanted to dive a little bit into your shadow. Because that's so much a part of my work and something I'm very interested in. So tell me a little bit about how shadow work expresses, like how you do it intentionally? Is that something that just comes out on a whim, like one day, oh, it just kind of happened, you notice that? And also, what is shadow work to you?
Good question. Very good question.
It's a long one.
Yeah. Well, kind of like my cat is black and white. He's a tuxedo cat. I think that the darkness and the light in all of its myriad of ways is inside of each of us, including any dark emotions. And kind of like my friend Bob said from New York, he's also an artist, and he said that you can never paint outside of your emotions, right? And so sometimes my emotions are dark. You know, sometimes I get agitated or sad or maybe sorrowful. Sometimes I miss my father. My father died in 2012, so I think of him often. And sometimes grief can be a little bit of the part of the dark side and the emotions that come from it. Could be sometimes for me, the dark side is self-doubt or self-criticism. And I think that the darkness is a necessary thing, just like the light is a necessary thing. And what shadow work have I done? Through years of suffering with drug addiction and lying and cheating and manipulating and all the things that go with heroin addiction and alcoholism and taking a lot of Xanax, things like that. Conditioned myself to do some pretty dark and bad things that I'm not proud of. And, I've detoxed in jail before, handcuffed to a stretcher for 5 or 6 days, and spent months in jail. And I've been in some pretty dark places, in some dark neighborhoods, and around some people that are doing pretty dark things, And so having a good 12 or 15 years of being more in the darkness, it was such a relief to be open to finally becoming willing to maybe see some light, and then the light continued to grow, and I like to think that now I exist more in the light, but yet at the same time I'm aware of the darkness, and I see it, and I see the suffering in the world, I see the suffering in myself, in my own mind, in my own conditioned thoughts and beliefs about society, about every aspect of life. I'm still conditioned, but there's also more than that. There's that place that is beyond words. Some people like to call it God. Some people call it the light. Some people call it awareness. And there are many other names, obviously. But I like to see both. And I like to embrace both. It really helps me to embrace both.
Does God play any sort of role in the work you do and the art you create?
The short answer is yes, definitely. I think that a lot of the artwork that I create is divinely inspired, including the dark pieces. And there's a lot of joy in the pieces that I make, and there's also a lot of sadness. So on any given day, you might get a sad piece, you might get a joyful piece. But God, yes, I do believe that there is a source that potentially goes by many names, depending on where one was raised, what tradition one grew up in, household, society, etc., in the East or the West or the North or the South. But I believe that there's this space that is a divine thing, and that's what I look for. That's what I was essentially looking for without even knowing it. While I would sniff heroin or take a bunch of Xanax, I thought I was at peace. But that definitely served its purpose in my life. And I would say that a lot of my work is inspired by God.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I feel that. I feel that in your words and in what you create. There is like a glow to it, And I that's definitely why I wanted to talk to you today. And that's the reason that this podcast is begun and exists. I think part of it is, to share that with the world and find people that are discovering a connection, something greater than themselves, and to help spread that. And every time I talk to someone about this stuff, it's oh man, I learned so much. I think we all need. We need this, I know I do. I think that probably for selfish reasons, but yeah.
Conscious creator. We're all conscious creators. All of us.
Tension behind the name definitely is like to talk to people that are moving through life with some sort of intentionality, and to create something with the intention of bringing good into the world, even if that shows up as like shadow material that's filled with hatred and shame or guilt or grief or pain, suffering, whatever, that is also,
that's
good.
That's all welcome.
Yeah.
That's all welcome.
Absolutely. But I love how you've brought in so much. There's so much unconscious in your work specifically, where I hear you bring in very abstract emotions and feelings and intuitions sound like are a big part of your artistic process. So the unconscious brought into the conscious it's really cool how you've kind of expanded my understanding of conscious creating.
I'm happy to hear that. I think that's one of the primary purposes in being here, is to help others expand their consciousness, their conscious awareness.
I know that I constantly look for explanations for things. I try to make things very scientific and to be able to explain abstract things, emotions. Psychology is definitely a science of invisible things, we give shape and form and names to things we can't see but very much exist. And we were talking earlier about how there's certain concepts within this realm of spirituality, specifically, where we're constantly, our understanding is evolving. We're constantly getting new perspectives of certain ideas and concepts, and that it's a lifelong practice, and we can never fully understand things. And your specific approach to making visual art and the way that you speak of it, I think is an incredible example of like how we were talking about there are certain things that we try as humans to put a name to and words to, but they're better understood as a feeling. If we could just like send a feeling to someone.
Yeah, that's why in the Buddhist tradition, metta is a very powerful thing. May all beings be peaceful, calm, and at ease. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be liberated. And just offering positive energy to people. Or it could be, if you're not a Buddhist, it could be just for a few moments closing your eyes and wishing that your mother has a good day, or your father, or wishing that your friend has a nice day. And just kind of offering them a good merit.
Yeah.
And one thing that really helps with that too is, for me, has definitely helped, is to have a beginner's mind. Like you were talking about, you can use the name God, you can use the name consciousness, but as soon as I think I know something, I like to return back to the childlike state.
Yeah.
To having an open mind and an open heart. That's been really helpful.
Yeah. If you do you have any advice or maybe not even advice, insight, or wisdom to people that are searching at this moment, searching for peace, searching for meaning, what would you tell them? What would you share? Anything?
Yeah, that's one of the age-old questions, right? Just that you're loved and that you matter. I would say that you're loved and that you matter, and I care, and to be a little bit more gentle on your mind and your body. It's okay to be gentle and kind to the body and to the mind. I would say just be kind to yourself, to your body and your mind, even for a moment. Even sometimes closing the eyes and saying thank you. That's enough. And in terms of creating any sort of artwork, including music, poetry, whatever it is. Could be a mechanic, could be at the butcher shop, could be at the bakery, could be at the pet food store, whatever it is, that there's artwork there too, and that we all definitely have a creative channel, and it's always patiently waiting for us to tap into, even in giving a hug. And, some people do have trauma where they don't like to give a hug. So that's where being kind comes back. That's the most important thing. That kindness and love towards yourself, even for a moment, that's where it starts. And then from there can be a little bit kinder to things on the outside. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that was received by me for sure. Like, that's all things that part of me needed to hear. So thank you. And I hope that reaches more people too.
Yeah.
Did you want to express any gratitude to anyone or send a message out to anyone that might be listening?
For sure. I mean, I love gratitude. I find myself in gratitude all the time, and that is a big part of what has rewired my mind to return back to gratitude. I'm grateful for my cat.
Yeah, first and foremost.
Yeah. Yep. I'm grateful for you.
Yeah.
Grateful for everybody in Nashville, all of my Nashville friends, and grateful for my friends in Florida, back in Pennsylvania, people that I grew up with. Grateful for everybody that has put up with me over the years, Grateful for, I'm just grateful for life. Grateful for artwork. I'm grateful for musicians and poets and people that just work hard every day, and people that are looking to alleviate suffering. I would like to honor all of the teachers from different lineages and different traditions that have come forth to help, to help put an end to suffering. And to create more peace in the world. Thankfulness to them, and thankfulness for really every aspect of life. I'm just grateful, and again, I'm very grateful for you, and that you thought of me for this. That's awesome.
Yeah, number one. Yeah, yeah. Do you have like a website? How could anyone possibly find your artwork? I know you do commission pieces as well.
So as of right now, my Instagram is hacked, unfortunately. So I'm waiting to get that back.
The art is still up though, and it's amazing.
The art is up, yeah, but the username is not mine. They took all that, but I can get it back, and hopefully I will. Other than that, Facebook. I don't have a website. I haven't really promoted much. More just like word of mouth and.
That's incredible that you
Facebook.
haven't needed to. Like, you're selling like all your pieces, and that's incredible. It
Yeah,
speaks volumes about like what you're doing, you know.
I just love doing it, and I find myself being pretty emotional while I'm doing it, and if other people happen to enjoy it, then that makes me happy that my pieces have a nice home somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I'm grateful for that. But other than Instagram, Facebook, Scott H. Glazier on Facebook, check that out, and if you want to follow the art, great. Yeah, cool. And if not, that's okay too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking with me and sharing all of your wisdom and talents with the rest of the world. Is there any parting messages or final words? No words. No words. Just that I love you and thank you. Yeah. Hell yeah. Cool. Thanks everybody for tuning in.